and welcome to SourceFeed News. My name is Catherine Sarah ANYANGO, and today we take a look at the stories shaping our world, from international migrations to climate change. We break down the biggest issues affecting our future. Welcome. SourceFeed News headlines: International migration. Why are more people on the move than ever before? The future of multilateralism in a divided world. Climate change. Have we already passed the tipping point? These stories and more coming up next. War, poverty, and climate change are forcing millions to migrate, but are host nations ready? We examine the impact and policies shaping migration. From economic strains to cultural integration, we explore how governments and communities are responding and what the future holds for displaced populations. Are global migration policies evolving fast enough to address this crisis? Our reporter Natalia Dero reports more.
Millions of people are on the move due to war, economic hardship, and climate disasters. What does this mean for global stability? As borders heighten and refugees' numbers rise, tensions are growing in both transit and destination countries.
A lot of Kenyans are moving to Australia, and this is an example where migrant flow has increased over the years because of economic incentives.
How are international organizations, governments, and local communities coping up with the surge? And what challenges do migrants face as they seek safety and opportunity? Our report examines the human stories and numbers policies that shape our future. I've been your reporter, Natalia Adero. This is SourceFeed News.
Thank you so much, Natalia. And today we are joined by an international relations expert, Dr. Salome Achieng Delilah. Welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me.
What are the main challenges faced by migrants in terms of legal status integration and access to services?
Migrants face a range of challenges once they arrive in the host countries, or even sometimes in the process of going to the host countries. And I will mention three that mostly cover the logistics of being in host country. The first is legal and unnecessary bureaucratic hurdles. So we find that when a lot of migrants are moving from their national countries to host countries, there can be a lot of waiting period. And this includes waiting periods where one has applied for a work permit and they still have to wait for it, for the decisions to come out. So these long waiting periods become very big challenges, because without legal documents in the host country, it becomes very difficult for migrants to move around. So there is limitations of freedoms and services that they can receive due to the long waits that they have to endure, and the state with which you are not legal but you're legal, and most of the time it ends up to be you are an illegal immigrant until you have the proper documents.
How do migration policies in different countries impact the flow of migrants?
I'd like to acknowledge that migration plays a central role when it comes to shaping the volume and the nature of migration flow. And some of the things that impact migration are legal pathways versus deterrence. We have regional and bilateral agreements. And finally, we have economic and political incentives. These three impact the flow of migration from from national countries to host countries, and therefore migration policies play a very important role when it comes to matters in impacting migration flows.
Thank you so much, Salome, for your time and the great insights. Join our conversation on all social media platforms at SourceFeed News and use the hashtag SourceFeedNews. As alliances shift and institutions face skepticism, are global organizations losing their influence? What does this mean for conflict resolution, economic stability, and governance? We analyze the structure in international cooperation and the potential paths forward. Our reporter Emmanuel Maluki has the details.
With increasing nationalism and a shift toward inward looking policies, global institutions like the United Nations and the World Bank are facing growing skepticism and diminishing influence. As countries prioritize sovereignty over multilateral cooperation, challenges such as climate change, conflict resolution, and economic inequality become harder to address collectively. This raises critical questions. Are these institutions adapting fast enough to remain relevant in a multipolar world? Can they rebuild trust, reform their structures, and demonstrate effectiveness in a time when global solidarity is in decline? The future of international cooperation may well depend on the ability to evolve and respond to 21st century geopolitical realities.
Thank you so much, Maluki. And with me in studio today is an expert. What are the key global challenges that require multilateral cooperation?
So, multilateralism cooperation is critical. It's very important in addressing a range of complex and interconnected issues that many countries face. And some of the global challenges that have been or are being addressed by multilateral cooperations today include things like climate change and environmental degradation, where we find international laws have merged together to be able to solve problems like greenhouse gas emission, transitioning to renewable energy, and mitigating natural resources, where we find that international laws prevent some countries from mining their national resources for environmental conservation and climate change, amongst other things. The next thing that we have seen multilateralism work with would be global health and pandemic. And the best example of this would be COVID-19, where there was an increased necessity of cooperation.
In what ways has multilateralism evolved in the 21st century?
Multilateralism has evolved in the 21st century because it has undergone significant changes because of the shift of a lot of factors. There are five major factors that have influenced the evolution of multilateralism, and these include the shift from unipolarity to multipolarity, where there's rise to new global powers, so moving from the American being the superpower to including countries like China, India, Europe, Russia, and this has moved the shift to a multipolarity where we have more than one national superpower. And then we have the second evolution that has been caused by um, flexible and issue-based networks. So this means that multilateralism traditionally would deal with everything altogether. So for instance, you can say the United Nations was dealing with civil wars and world conflicts altogether, but now they have individual strategic um, ways of dealing with individual problems that come about.
Thank you so much, Salome, for your time and the great insights.
Your favorite margarine brand has two variants, Blue Band Original and the Blue Band Spread for Bread. Here's how to use them best. The Blue Band Original tub has a navy blue lid, and the Blue Band Spread for Bread tub has a light blue lid. Blue Band Original is a higher fat multi-purpose formulation that can be used in diverse cooking applications, including spreading, cooking, baking, basting, frying, or topping for extra flavor and nutrition. It is the only spread fortified with 6 Good Start vitamins, as well as omega-3 and 6. The Blue Band Spread for Bread, on the other hand, is only for spreading and not recommended for cooking due to lower fat and higher water content. It is also made with high-quality vegetable oils and is fortified with 6 essential Good Start vitamins. All Blue Band products are manufactured under high quality standards and approved by the Kenya Bureau of Standards. For more information and inquiries, connect with us via our social media platforms or contact us via Consumer Care Line.
Come along, babe, it's in essay, cause I didn't on cruise. I do as you do, cause me I don't dare, me I feel good. But if you give me one shot or two, I doubt if I go feel you try ski already.
Royal Mabati Factory Limited, your one-stop shop for guaranteed quality roofing solutions. Enjoy our Lipapole plan. Pay 40%, get same-day production. Take advantage of these amazing Christmas offers. Enjoy free delivery across Kenya to your doorstep. Call us on 0722 638383. Order today at www.royalmabati.com. Terms and conditions apply.
Dettol Soap with Germ Defense gives you protection. When it's cold, germs are transferred in different ways, and Dettol Soap's Germ Defense protects you from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Be Dettol sure.
Extreme weather, rising seas, and vanishing resources. Climate change is here. Are we doing enough to fight it? As nations struggle to balance economic growth and environmental responsibility.
From rising sea levels to extreme weather, climate change is accelerating. Are we doing enough to stop it? Despite international agreements and growing awareness, global carbon emissions continue to rise, and critical ecosystems are being pushed to the brink. Many governments have pledged ambitious targets, yet actions often fall short of what scientists say is necessary to avoid catastrophic warming. Meanwhile, vulnerable communities are already bearing the brunt of floods, droughts, and food insecurity. The clock is ticking, and without immediate large-scale changes in energy production, consumption patterns, and environmental policies, the window to prevent irreversible damage is rapidly closing. The question is no longer just about stopping climate change, it's about adapting to a future we are dangerously close to losing control over.
Lagging behind on emission cuts and developing nations bearing the brunt of the crisis. Is global climate action failing? We examine the latest scientific warnings, policy debates, and grassroots movements fighting to turn the tide. This is Claire Tisserek, reporting for SourceFeed News.
Thank you so much, Claire. And with me, I have Professor Benea Odhiambo.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me, Catherine. And I'm excited and particularly happy that you have invited me to. It's a privilege to be able to participate in the discussion on climate change.
What are the biggest misconceptions about climate change?
From an earth science perspective, as an earth scientist, it is we all speak the same language, except that you find sometimes there could be little variations here and there. But we do all agree that climate has been changing, and as earth scientists, we are aware actually that climate change has been there in the geological past since the Industrial Revolution, when we started large-scale production of fossil fuels and burning of fossil fuels. And this, together with our topic at hand, climate change really has to be, I think it goes in tandem together with global warming. And global warming, if you look at the factors or causes of global warming, these put together really, and you end up with a changing climate. And so we will be able to, I believe in this discussion, be able to go over these issues as you as we indulge into the discussion in depth.
How do we balance economic growth and environmental conservation?
The engine of growth has actually revolved around utilization of resources. We have been talking about burning of fossil fuels, basically coal, petroleum resources, and of course nuclear power and so on. But mostly of the fossil fuels have been the cheapest, and most quickest available, if you want, sources of energy. Growth, really, for me, we always link economic growth with the development of resources. In other words, when we have energy sources, most of our energy sources, remember, this is what the source of electricity, we talk about energy here, basically electricity, for development of economies, mostly in terms of energy production. So if you look at it, it involves burning of the fossil fuels on one hand. As we burn the fossil fuels, there's a lot of production of what we call the greenhouse gases, especially carbon dioxide, which then also is the major greenhouse gas in this particular case. And in this case, we are not going to talk about the science and the details of the global warming and climate change, but I think it is necessary just to point out this. So if you look at the economic growth of countries that produce the largest amount of energy are the most developed, if you would say that. If you look at, say, the amount of energy that is produced in virtually the whole of African continent, this is a general statement, but it is pretty accurate in the sense that the energy production in African countries put together actually is very, very low. You cannot compare that, what we produce, the whole of the 54 countries in Africa, with what is produced, for example, in Germany or even in China. So the economic growth here is actually very strongly related to energy production.
Join our conversation on all social media platforms at SourceFeed News and use the hashtag SourceFeedNews. And finally, our image of the week. This picture is taken in Nairobi, shows a young protester standing firm in front of an armed convoy, an image of bravery in the fight of democracy. This moment reminds us that freedom is never free. It requires courage and sacrifice. That's all from us here at SourceFeed News. Thank you for joining us. Stay informed and stay engaged. My name is Catherine Sarah Anyango. Thank you for being with us.